Can we agree the benefits bill is going to be higher at the end of this Parliament than it is now? So any talk of cuts to benefits is actually just a barefaced lie. Actual disabled people and people with debilitating conditions like chronic arthritis, no changes at all in anyone claiming for mental health problems. Now, I completely understand the need to claim PIP if you are so incapacitated by chronic depression that you cannot leave your house.
Something very strange is happening in British politics right now. The government that won by a huge amount just 1 year ago is falling apart, and it's all happening on live television. Camilla Tominey, a news presenter on GB News, sat down with Wes Streeting. He's the health secretary in Keir Starmer's government. What happened next was brutal. She asked him questions that left him struggling to give answers, and what came out during this interview has people asking serious questions about whether this government knows what it's doing. First, let's talk about the benefits mess. The government promised they would cut the benefits bill. They said they were going to be tough, they said they would save money, but here's what actually happened. The benefits bill has gone up by £86 billion in the last 10 years. That's a huge amount of money. So what is Labour doing about it? They said they would cut £2 billion from the bill. $2 billion sounds like a lot until you realize the whole bill is much, much bigger. And here's the really important part. By the end of this Parliament, the benefits bill will actually be higher than it is right now. Let that sink in. They're calling it cuts, but we'll actually be paying more. Camilla asked Streeting directly about this. She said,
but can we agree? Can we agree the benefits bill is going to be higher at the end of this Parliament than it is now? So any talk of cuts to benefits is actually just a barefaced lie.
Streeting had to admit it. He said,
well, that is a fact you've just stated, that we will be paying more for the welfare system at the end of this Parliament than we do today.
So they're not cutting benefits at all, they're just spending more money and calling it reform. This is exactly the kind of thing that makes people angry with politicians, but it gets worse. Last week, over 120 Labour MPs threatened to vote against their own government. That's a huge rebellion. One person in the government already quit over this. Others were ready to quit too. The government had to completely change their plans to avoid a massive defeat. What did they do? They offered what people are calling massive concessions. This means they backed down. They gave up on their plans. After weeks of saying they wouldn't change anything, they changed everything. These changes will cost several £billion over the next few years. Rachel Reeves is the Chancellor. She's in charge of the country's money. She had already counted on saving money from these benefit cuts. She put it in her plans. Now those savings are gone. The government says they won't borrow more money to cover this, but nobody knows how they'll pay for it. Now let's talk about who this affects. The government said they wanted to help disabled people. They said the most vulnerable would be protected. Streeting told Camilla,
of course, we've got to tread carefully in this issue of support for disabled people, because there will be lots of people who, through no fault of their own, simply cannot work. Those people deserve and are entitled to a good level of income.
That sounds good, right? But here's what they're not telling you. The original plan was going to affect people with serious conditions, people with chronic arthritis, people with multiple sclerosis. These are life-changing diseases. These people can't walk properly, they can't work. They need help to survive. But you know what didn't change? Claims for mental health problems. People are claiming benefits for mild depression, for mild autism, for ADHD. Now, some people with these conditions really do need help, but the system has a problem. People are claiming thousands of pounds because they feel anxious or can't focus well. Camilla asked a very direct question. She said,
why on earth are people claiming PIP for mild depression, mild, and I stress mild autism, and conditions like ADHD?
Streeting didn't really answer. He just said they would look at it. He talked about hiring more mental health workers, but he didn't explain why people with mild conditions get benefits while people with serious physical disabilities were going to lose support. The government is too scared to fix this problem. They know if they try, there will be huge backlash, so they're leaving it alone. And who pays for this? You do, the taxpayer, the person working hard every day while the benefits bill keeps growing. Let's talk about Keir Starmer himself. He's now the least popular prime minister in the last 40 years. That's worse than Gordon Brown, worse than anyone in recent history, and this is after just 1 year in power. Camilla asked Streeting directly,
doesn't Tim Davie, just a yes or no answer please, have to consider, at least consider his position?
It's not been the BBC's finest hour. I'm not going to comment on the future of the Director General. That's not my place. I know the culture. I know that Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, is talking to Tim Davie, and that's probably all I should say this morning.
All right. Let's talk about the Prime Minister. Does he have to consider his position, Wes Streeting? We've got yet another screeching U-turn on benefits after the screeching U-turn on the winter fuel, a screeching U-turn on grooming gangs. Keir Starmer doesn't really know what he's doing, does he?
Streeting tried to defend him. He
said,
said,
by the way, I mean, you look at a couple of the interviews the Prime Minister's done today, one of the things I respect and like about the guy is when things go wrong, when he makes mistakes, he's honest about it, takes responsibility for it, learns from it, and most importantly, puts it right. And that's what we've done on welfare this week. We're in a better place.
But here's the problem. Starmer keeps making the same mistakes over and over. First, it was winter fuel payments for pensioners, then welfare, then grooming gangs. Now benefits again. That's not learning. That's chaos. And get this, Starmer admitted he was distracted when this benefits crisis was happening. He told a newspaper, "I was heavily focused on what was happening with NATO and the Middle East all weekend. I turned my attention fully to it when I got back from NATO on Wednesday night." So while his own MPs were about to rebel, while his government was falling apart, he wasn't paying attention. That's the leader of the country. Now let's talk about something that really got people angry. There's a job being advertised in the NHS. It's for a diversity, equity, and inclusion manager. The salary is £122,000 a year. That's more money than most people will ever see. Meanwhile, the NHS has a waiting list of 6 million people. 6 million people waiting for treatment, waiting in pain, waiting for operations. And the NHS is advertising a job that pays over £100,000 for a diversity manager. Camilla grilled Streeting about this. She asked, "Can the NHS with a waiting list of 6.3 million people afford to be spending £122,000 on a DEI role? What is going on?" Streeting said he was cutting down on these roles, but Camilla didn't let him off easy. She asked, "Why are these roles still being advertised if you're cutting down on them? Why are they still on websites?" There was a long pause. Streeting couldn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "I think it is fair to say it has taken a little while for some people in the NHS to get the message. So they say they're cutting these expensive jobs, but they're still hiring for them. They say every penny should be well spent, but they're spending over £100,000 on jobs that don't treat patients. The economy is also in trouble. It shrank in May. That means it got smaller, not bigger. This happened for the second month in a row. Experts thought it would grow, but it didn't. Manufacturing dropped. Retail sales were very weak. The only thing that grew was services, including lawyers. Rachel Reeves, the chancellor, should be dealing with this, but people say she's out of her depth. She went to Oxford University, but she can't seem to handle the job. She's fighting with Angela Rayner, another senior minister. The government is at war with itself. Here's something else. Pensioners are freezing because of cuts to winter fuel payments. Farmers are having to sell their land because of inheritance tax changes. And all of this is happening while the government spends more money on benefits than ever before. Labour MPs are in open revolt. They're angry in their local surgeries when they meet voters. Some ministers are hiding from cameras. There are even whispers about trying to replace Starmer before Christmas. The party is eating itself from the inside. This interview showed something very clear. The government doesn't have a plan. They make promises they can't keep. They announce policies and then reverse them. They say they're cutting spending but actually increase it. And when they get caught, they just say they're learning from mistakes. But the British people aren't stupid. They can see what's happening. They can see the U-turns. They can see the waste. They can see politicians who don't know what they're doing. This is why the interview matters so much. Camilla didn't let Streeting hide behind nice words. She asked direct questions and demanded real answers. And what came out was the truth. A government in crisis, a prime minister who can't lead, and a party that's falling apart.